In a corner of your home tonight, in a spot you have walked past 100 times without ever really looking, something is happening that most people will never notice. There is, almost certainly, one specific kind of spider in your home, the same kind that lives in nearly every other home in America, and you have probably never learned its name. It is small. It is brown. It is, in almost every measurable way, the most unremarkable of small creatures. And it is, by a very wide margin, the most successful spider in the United States. Its name is the common house spider, Peristeatoda tepidariiorum, though almost no one calls it that. Most people, if they have noticed it at all, simply think of it as a brown spider in the corner of a basement, or a small shape behind a piece of furniture. It is the spider of garages and laundry rooms, of bathroom corners and unused closets, of any space in a home that is left undisturbed for more than a few days at a time. And if a spider lives in your home right now, and one almost certainly does, there is a very high chance that this is the one. Pay attention to where it has chosen to be. The common house spider has a particular look that, once you learn to recognize it, you will start to see everywhere. The body is small, usually no larger than a pea. The color ranges from light brown to a yellowish gray, often with faint patterns of darker brown along the abdomen. The legs are slender, longer than the body, and held in a slightly bowed position when the spider is at rest. The overall impression is of something delicate, careful, almost shy. This is not a spider that runs. This is not a spider that hunts in the open. This is a spider that builds. What it builds is one of the quiet wonders of household arachnology. The common house spider constructs what biologists call a cobweb, a loose, irregular, three-dimensional tangle of silk that looks, to most human eyes, like nothing more than the result of a long-neglected dusting. To the spider, however, the cobweb is a precise hunting tool, designed with a specificity that almost no one would guess from looking at it. The lower strands of the web are not random. They are gum-footed lines, attached to the floor or to a surface below the main tangle. Each line is coated, at its lower end, with a small drop of sticky silk. When a small insect on the floor walks past and touches one of these lines, the line releases from its anchor and pulls the insect upward into the main body of the web. The spider, sitting in the upper tangle, feels the vibration and descends. This is one of the most ingenious small inventions in the natural world. The spider has, in effect, built a trap that uses the floor as part of its mechanism. The web does not wait for prey to fly into it. The web reaches down and lifts prey up. And almost no one looking at a cobweb in a corner of a basement has any idea this is what they are seeing. The chemistry of the sticky droplets is itself a small marvel. Each gum-footed line ends in a tiny ball of viscous silk, no larger than the head of a pin, that remains tacky for many days. The spider produces these droplets in specialized glands and applies them with movements so precise that researchers have studied them under high-speed cameras to understand how a creature with no hands, no eyes for fine detail, and no tools could possibly build such a delicate mechanism. The answer, as with most things in arachnology, is that the spider has spent millions of generations refining the technique. What looks like a casual scatter of threads is in fact a piece of inherited engineering that almost no human craftsperson could replicate at the same scale. The common house spider has spread across America for very specific reasons. It is one of the few spiders that thrives almost exclusively in human-built environments. Unlike many household spiders, which are simply outdoor species that occasionally come inside, the common house spider has, over centuries of close association with people, become something close to a domestic specialist. It does best in the temperatures of a heated home. It prefers the humidity of indoor spaces. It hunts the small insects that follow human food and human warmth. In a sense, this spider needs us. It has tied its life to ours in a way that very few wild creatures have, and we have tied our homes to it without ever realizing. Studies of household arthropods consistently find common house spiders in the vast majority of homes across the country, in every state, in every climate, in apartments and farmhouses and city brownstones. The spider is, by some estimates, present in more American homes than any pet, any plant, any single item of furniture. It is, in a quiet way, the most universal resident of American domestic life. Most people will never see it clearly. The common house spider lives in the parts of a home most of us rarely look at carefully: the upper corner of a basement, the space behind a water heater, the underside of a shelf in the garage. the small gap behind a bookcase that has not been moved in years. When it does emerge into a more visible space, it is usually a male spider, briefly traveling, looking for a mate. What this spider is doing in your home, day after day, is something quietly remarkable. It is hunting the smallest insects you do not want. The gnats, the small flies, the tiny pests that find their way into kitchens and pantries. A single common house spider, in the course of a year, may catch hundreds of these small insects. The math, across the millions of common house spiders in American homes, is enormous. This one small species is one of the largest unrecognized contributors to the cleanliness of American houses. It does its work in silence. It asks for nothing. It builds its cobweb, sits in the upper tangle, waits for vibration, descends when called, and returns to its quiet position. It lives on average about a year. It produces an egg sac, sometimes more than one in a season, and a small number of its descendants stay in the same home while the rest balloon away to begin lives elsewhere. What this all means, very gently, is that the most common creature sharing your American home is one you have probably never noticed. It has been there for as long as you have lived in the space. It has been there in some form long before you arrived. It will be there in some form long after you leave. The spider in your home tonight has a name, a history, and a quiet purpose. Some lives are most successful when they are most overlooked. Some neighbors share our homes for decades, and we never learn their names.